2:37 in the morning. The kind of hour when the devil does his best work and God tests your faith. A black Mercedes-Benz SUV sat idling at a red light in South Philadelphia, exhaust clouds rising into the freezing December air. Behind the wheel sat a woman who had not slept properly in 3 weeks. Her name was Victoria Chambers. Billionaire. Geo. A woman whose face had been on the cover of Forbes twice. But tonight she was not thinking about quarterly earnings or board meetings. She was thinking about the empty nursery in her mansion. The one she had painted yellow 15 years ago. The one she kept locked because opening that door felt like reopening a grave. The light turned green but she did not move. Something was pulling at her spirit. That still small voice her grandmother used to talk about. The one that speaks when everything else goes quiet. Turn right, it whispered. Victoria turned right. She had no reason to. That street led to nowhere she needed to be. Just abandoned row houses and chain-link fences and the kind of darkness that swallows hope. But her hands turned the wheel anyway. 3 blocks down she heard it. A sound that should not exist in a place like this at a time like this. Crying. Weak. Desperate. The cry of something dying. She stopped the car. Stepped out into the cold. And there, beside a rusted dumpster, she found them. 2 baby girls. Newborns. Their skin was blue. Their lips were purple. They were wrapped in a trash bag. Not a blanket. A trash bag. And they were dying. Victoria did not scream. Did not panic. She reached in and pulled them out, cradling them against her chest, feeling their tiny hearts beating against her own. She had prayed for this moment for 15 years. Begged God for it. Bargained with him. And now here it was in the last place she ever expected. But what Victoria did not know was that the woman who threw those babies away was watching from a window across the street. Watching as Victoria drove away with the children she could not keep. And in that moment, a seed was planted. A seed of regret that would grow into something Victoria could never prepare for. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to hear from you. And if you are new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Why does God allow some women to carry children and others to bury them? Why does He place miracles in dumpsters and leave desperate mothers in the cold? These are the questions Victoria had wrestled with her entire adult life. Questions that had no answers. Questions that kept her up at night even after she became one of the richest women in Pennsylvania. Because money cannot buy the one thing she wanted most. A child. She had tried everything. Fertility treatments. Prayer chains at 3 different churches. But every door closed. Every pregnancy failed. Until the night God answered her prayer in the most unexpected way. By leading her to a dumpster. Victoria was 54 years old. Born and raised in North Philadelphia by a single mother who cleaned houses for a living. She put herself through community college washing dishes. Got an MBA while working 2 jobs. Started a logistics company in her garage and built it into a national powerhouse. She married at 35. A good man. A deacon at their church. They tried for years to have children. She got pregnant once. Made it to 4 months before she miscarried in the church bathroom during Sunday service. The doctors said she would never carry a baby to term. Her husband said it was okay. That they would adopt. But he died in a car accident 2 years later before they ever could. And Victoria spent the next decade building an empire to fill the emptiness in her soul. She gave millions to charities. Built schools in West Africa. Funded orphanages. But at night, when she was alone in that big house, she still felt the ache. The longing. The prayers that seemed to bounce off the ceiling. Victoria had always believed that God had a plan. Even when it hurt. Even when it made no sense. Her mother taught her that. Raised her in the Holiness Church where they sang until their voices gave out and prayed until the walls shook. Her mother used to say that God does not waste pain. That every tear you cry gets bottled up in heaven. That one day you will understand why you had to walk through the fire. Victoria held on to that promise. Even when her husband died. Even when the doctors said her womb was broken. Even when she sat in that empty nursery and wondered if God had forgotten her. She never stopped believing. Never stopped praying. And on December 17th at 2:37 in the morning, God answered. Not the way she expected. But the way she needed. Victoria drove straight to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia with those 2 babies. She ran every red light. Laid on the horn. And when she burst through those emergency room doors, she was shouting for help. The nurses took the babies immediately. Rushed them into the trauma bay. Started IVs. Warmed their tiny bodies under heat lamps. Victoria stood outside the room, shaking, and she prayed harder than she had ever prayed in her life. She made God a promise. If you let them live, I will raise them. I will love them. I will give them everything I have. Just please, please do not let them die. And God in his mercy said yes. Both babies survived. Against the odds. Against logic. The doctors called it a miracle. Victoria called it faithfulness. Child Protective Services came the next morning. They asked Victoria questions. Where did she find them? Did she see anyone? Did she know who the mother was? Victoria told them everything. They searched for weeks, put the story on the news. But no one came forward. No one claimed those babies. So after 6 months of home visits and background checks and court hearings, Victoria became their legal guardian. She named them Eden and Zion. Eden because it meant paradise. Zion because it meant a place of refuge. 2 names for 2 lives that God had snatched from death. She raised them in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Took them to church every Sunday. Taught them to pray before meals. Read them Bible stories at bedtime. She gave them everything her mother gave her. Faith, discipline, love. And she never told them the full truth about how she found them. She said their mother died giving birth. That God had brought them together. And for 16 years that was enough. But the enemy does not sleep. And every lie, no matter how well-intentioned, eventually comes to light. The woman who abandoned those babies was named Rochelle. She was 22 years old the night she gave birth alone in a house in North Philadelphia. She had been beautiful once. A cheerleader in high school. A girl with dreams of becoming a nurse. But life has a way of breaking people who do not have anyone to catch them when they fall. Her mother died of cancer when she was 17. Her father was in prison. She fell in love with a man who sold drugs and made promises he never kept. When she got pregnant, he disappeared. And Rochelle, terrified and alone and high out of her mind, did the unthinkable. She gave birth in a bathroom. Cut the umbilical cords with a kitchen knife. Wrapped the babies in a trash bag. And left them behind a dumpster because she believed they would be better off dead than raised by someone like her. Rochelle watched from a window across the street as Victoria carried her babies away. She told herself it was for the best, that she had done them a favor. But the guilt ate at her like cancer. She tried to kill it with drugs, with alcohol, with men who did not care about her name. But nothing worked. The guilt followed her everywhere, whispered to her at night, showed her their faces in every baby she passed on the street. And 7 years ago, after overdosing for the 3rd time, Rochelle found herself in a church basement at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. She did not want to be there, did not believe in God, did not think she deserved to be saved. But a woman at that meeting, an older black woman with kind eyes, told her something that changed her life. God does not give up on people, even when they give up on themselves. Rochelle started going back. Week after week, she got clean, got a job, moved into a small apartment. And slowly the fog lifted. But so did the denial. And when she could finally think clearly, the first thing she thought about was those 2 babies. Wondered if they survived. Wondered if they hated her. Wondered if she could ever look them in the eye. It took Rochelle 3 years of sobriety before she had the courage to look for them. She started with the news archives. Typed in the date. December 17th. 16 years ago. And there it was. Billionaire saves twin girls found in dumpster. The article had a picture. Victoria Chambers standing outside the hospital with 2 infant car seats. Rochelle stared at that picture for an hour. She wanted to feel relief, wanted to be happy that they survived. But all she felt was shame. Because those babies had been saved not by her, but in spite of her. She found Victoria's address online. It was not hard. Rich people do not hide. She drove past the house a dozen times before she worked up the nerve to stop. It was a mansion. Iron gates. Security cameras. A circular driveway with a fountain in the middle. Rochelle looked down at her thrift store jeans and her beat-up Honda Civic and almost drove away. But something made her stay. Maybe it was God. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was the voice of that woman from the NA meeting telling her that running does not solve anything. She pressed the intercom button at the gate. A man's voice answered. Rochelle's throat went dry. She almost hung up. But then she said it. My name is Rochelle. I need to speak to Victoria Chambers. The voice asked what it was about. Rochelle hesitated. Tell her it is about Eden and Zion, she said. There was a long pause. Then the gates opened. Rochelle drove up the driveway, her hands shaking so hard she could barely hold the steering wheel. She parked, walked to the front door. And when it opened, Victoria stood there, looking at her with eyes that saw straight through to her soul. Victoria knew. Without Rochelle saying a word, she knew. Come in, Victoria said quietly. They sat in the living room. A room bigger than any apartment Rochelle had ever lived in. Victoria did not offer her anything to drink, did not smile, just sat across from her and waited. Rochelle tried to speak but the words would not come. Finally Victoria spoke first. "You are their mother." It was not a question. It was a statement. Rochelle nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I did not come here to take them," she said quickly. "I just needed to know they were okay." Victoria's jaw tightened. "They are more than okay. They are loved. They are safe. They do not know what you did to them. And I would like to keep it that way." Rochelle flinched. "I understand," she said. "I just wanted to see them. Just once." Victoria stood up. "No," she said firmly. "You do not get to walk back into their lives after 16 years and disrupt everything I have built. You made your choice. You threw them away. I found them. I saved them. I raised them. They are mine." Rochelle broke down. "I know," she sobbed. "I know I do not deserve anything. But I am not the same person I was. I am clean now. I have been sober for 7 years. I go to church. I'm trying to make things right." Victoria's expression did not soften. "Some things cannot be made right," she said. "You need to leave." Rochelle stood up. She wiped her face. She nodded. But before she walked out, she turned back. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Victoria watched her leave, watched her get into her car and drive away. And then Victoria locked the door, walked upstairs to her bedroom and fell to her knees. "Lord," she prayed, "I do not know what to do. I've tried to protect them. I've tried to give them a life free from pain. But the past is knocking on my door, and I do not know how to keep it out. Give me wisdom. Give me strength. And please, God, do not let this destroy what we have built." She stayed on her knees for an hour. And when she finally stood up, she knew what she had to do. She had to tell the girls the truth. Because secrets, no matter how well you bury them, always find a way to rise. That night at dinner, Victoria sat down with Eden and Zion. They were 16 now. Beautiful. Smart. Eden wanted to be a doctor. Zion wanted to be a lawyer. They were good girls. God-fearing girls. Victoria looked at them and felt her heart breaking. "There is something I need to tell you," she said. The girls stopped eating. They could hear the weight in her voice. "What is it?" Eden asked. Victoria took a deep breath. "I have not been completely honest with you about where you came from." The room went silent. "I told you your mother died in childbirth. But that was not true. She is alive. And she came here today." Zion dropped her fork. Eden stared at her. "What are you talking about?" Victoria told them everything. The dumpster. The cold. The trash bag. The woman who abandoned them. The girls sat there in shock. Eden started crying. Zion just stared at the table, her fists clenched. "Why did you lie to us?" Zion asked, her voice shaking. Victoria reached for her hand but Zion pulled away. "I was trying to protect you," Victoria said. But Zion was not listening. She stood up and walked out of the room. Eden followed. And Victoria sat alone at that table, feeling like everything she had built was crumbling. If you were Victoria, would you have told them the truth? Or would you have kept the secret buried to protect the people you love? Let us know in the comments. And if this story is gripping your heart, hit that like button and subscribe because this is only the beginning. The next 3 weeks were the hardest of Victoria's life. Eden cried every night. Zion refused to speak to her. They moved through the house like ghosts. Victoria tried to give them space but it felt like losing them. She prayed every morning, every night. "God, I do not know what to do. Please show me. Please fix this." But God was silent. Or maybe he was speaking and Victoria was too hurt to hear. She kept going to church, kept reading her Bible, kept believing that somehow, someway this would all work out. Because that is what faith is. Believing when you cannot see. Trusting when it does not make sense. Standing on the promises of God even when the ground beneath you feels like it is cracking. Meanwhile, Rochelle kept calling. She left messages. Sent letters. She was not trying to take the girls away. She just wanted a chance to explain. To apologize. To let them know that abandoning them was not about them. It was about her. About her brokenness. Her fear. Her belief that she was not good enough. But Victoria did not respond. She blocked the number. Threw away the letters. She was trying to protect her daughters. But the girls did not see it that way. Zion especially. She felt betrayed. Lied to. And one night, she did something Victoria never expected. She found Rochelle's number in the trash. And she called her. Rochelle answered on the first ring. Zion did not say hello. She just said, "This is Zion." What? There was silence on the other end. Then Rochelle's voice shaking. "Because I was broken. Because I was high. Because I thought you would be better off without me." Zion's voice was cold. "So you threw us away?" "Yes," Rochelle said. I did. And I have hated myself for it every single day since. Zion wanted to hang up, wanted to scream. But instead, she asked the question that had been burning inside her since the night she found out. Do you even care? Rochelle started crying. I care more than you will ever know. That is why I stayed away for 16 years. Because I thought that was what you needed. But I was wrong. I should have fought for you. I should have gotten clean sooner. I should have been the mother you deserved. But I was not. And I am sorry. I'm so sorry. Zion hung up. But she did not block the number. And 2 days later, she called again. This time, Eden was with her. They asked Rochelle to meet them. Rochelle agreed. They met at a Starbucks near Temple University. Rochelle got there early. She sat in the corner, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea she was not drinking, and prayed. God, I do not deserve this. I know I do not. But please, please let them see that I am not that person anymore. When the girls walked in, Rochelle stood up. Her legs were shaking. Eden looked just like her. Same eyes. Same nose. Same full lips. Zion looked different. Sharper. Harder. Like she had built walls around herself that no one could climb. They sat down. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Eden broke the silence. Tell us your story, she said. Rochelle told them everything. Her childhood. Her mother's death. The man who left her pregnant. The drugs. The fear. The night she gave birth alone. The moment she made the worst decision of her life. She did not make excuses. Did not try to justify it. She just told the truth. And when she finished, she looked at them with tears streaming down her face. I do not expect you to forgive me, she said. I do not even deserve to be sitting here. But I needed you to know that giving you up was not because you were not wanted. It was because I did not know how to want anything. I was so lost, so broken. And I thought I was doing the right thing. Zion's jaw was tight. You almost killed us. Rochelle nodded. I know. Eden wiped her eyes. But you did not. Zion looked at her sister. What are you saying? Eden took a deep breath. I am saying that I do not know how to feel. I am angry. I am hurt. But I also believe in second chances. That is what God teaches us. That is what Mom taught us. Zion shook her head. She is not our mom. She threw us in a dumpster. Eden's voice was soft but firm. And Victoria pulled us out. Both things are true. Rochelle did something terrible. But she is also sitting here, sober, trying to make amends. That means something. Zion stood up. I cannot do this, she said. She walked out. Eden stayed for a few more minutes. She looked at Rochelle. I do not forgive you yet, she said. But I do not hate you either. I just need time. Rochelle nodded. Take all the time you need. Eden left. Rochelle sat alone in that Starbucks for an hour, staring at the empty chairs across from her, and thanked God that they had not cursed her out. That they had listened. That maybe, just maybe, there was hope. Victoria found out about the meeting from Zion. She was furious. You went behind my back? She said. Zion crossed her arms. You have been lying to us for 16 years. So do not talk to me about honesty. Victoria took a deep breath. She was trying not to lose her temper. I lied to protect you, she said. Zion's voice rose. We did not need protection. We needed the truth. Victoria stared at her daughter. The daughter she had raised. The daughter she had prayed over. The daughter who was now looking at her like she was the enemy. And for the first time in 16 years, Victoria felt like she was losing. Not because Rochelle was taking them away, but because the truth was. 2 months after that first meeting, Rochelle called Eden. Her voice was different. Weak. Scared. I need to tell you something, she said. Eden agreed to meet her. This time she brought Zion. And they did not tell Victoria again. They met at Rochelle's apartment. A small one-bedroom in West Philadelphia. Clean but sparse. Rochelle let them in. She looked thinner. Pale. Her hands were shaking. She sat them down on the couch and took a deep breath. I'm sick, she said. The girls exchanged a glance. What do you mean? Eden asked. Rochelle's eyes filled with tears. I have cancer. Ovarian. Stage 3. They caught it late. I have been doing chemo, but it is not working. The doctor said I have maybe a year. Maybe less. The room went silent. Zion stared at her. Eden covered her mouth. I did not tell you before because I did not want you to feel sorry for me, Rochelle continued. I did not come back into your lives because I am dying. I came back because I got sober and realized I needed to make things right. But now I am running out of time. And I just wanted you to know that if I could go back and change what I did, I would. If I could take your place and be the one dying in that dumpster, I would. But I cannot. All I can do is tell you that I am sorry. And that I love you. Even though I have no right to. Eden started crying. Zion sat frozen. "Why are you telling us this?" she asked. Rochelle looked at her. "Because you deserve to know. And because I do not want to die without you knowing that abandoning you was not about you. It was about me. About my fear. My weakness. My brokenness. You were perfect. You have always been perfect. I was the problem." Zion stood up. Her face was hard but her eyes were wet. "I do not know what you want from us," she said. Rochelle shook her head. "I do not want anything. I just wanted you to know the truth." Zion turned to leave. But Eden stayed. She looked at Rochelle. "How long do you have?" Rochelle wiped her eyes. 6 months. Maybe 8 if the next round of chemo works. Eden nodded slowly. Then she stood up and walked over to Rochelle. And she did something no one expected. She hugged her. Rochelle broke down. She sobbed into Eden's shoulder, her whole body shaking. Zion watched from the doorway. She did not move, did not speak, but something inside her cracked. Just a little. Enough to let the light in. They told Victoria everything. She sat in her prayer room listening, her hands folded in her lap. When they finished, she did not say anything for a long time. Then she looked at them. "What do you want to do?" she asked. Eden spoke first. "I want to help her." Victoria's jaw tightened. "Help her how?" Eden took a deep breath. "I want her to move into the guest house, so we can take care of her." Victoria stared at her. "You cannot be serious." Eden's voice was calm but firm. "She is dying, Mom. And whether we like it or not, she is a part of our story. I do not want her to die alone." Victoria looked at Zion. "What about you?" Zion hesitated. Then she nodded. "I am not ready to forgive her. But I am not ready to let her die in some apartment by herself either." Victoria closed her eyes. She prayed silently. "God, this is too hard. I do not know if I can do this." But then she heard it. That still small voice. The same voice that told her to turn right on that cold December night 16 years ago. Love her. Victoria opened her eyes. "Okay," she said. "She can stay." Eden hugged her. Zion nodded. And Victoria made a decision that would test her faith in ways she never imagined. She called Rochelle that night. "This is Victoria," she said. Rochelle recognized her voice immediately. "I know this is hard for you," Victoria continued, "but my daughters want to help you. So I am offering you the guest house. You will have your own space, your own privacy, but you will be close enough for them to take care of you." Rochelle could barely speak. "Why would you do that?" Victoria's voice was steady. "Because my God is a God of grace. And if He can forgive me for my sins, then I can extend that same grace to you." Rochelle moved in a week later. It was awkward at first. She kept to herself, ate alone, did not ask for anything. But slowly the girls started spending time with her. Eden would bring her tea. Zion would sit with her and watch old movies. And Victoria, though she kept her distance, would check on her every morning. "How are you feeling? Do you need anything?" It was not friendship. It was not forgiveness. It was something else. Something more powerful. It was obedience. Obedience to the voice of God even when it did not make sense. Even when it hurt. And as the weeks turned into months, something beautiful started to happen. Rochelle started talking about her life. Not just the bad parts, but the good parts too. The parts she had forgotten. Her love for singing. Her dream of becoming a nurse. The way her mother used to braid her hair. And the girls started to see her not as the woman who abandoned them, but as a woman who had been abandoned herself. By her father. By the man she loved. By a system that did not care. And slowly the walls came down. Rochelle's health declined faster than anyone expected. By month 4 she could barely walk. The chemo had stopped working. The doctors said there was nothing more they could do. So the girls brought in hospice care. They set up a hospital bed in the guest house. They took turns sitting with her, reading to her, praying with her. Rochelle had never been to church much before. But now, as death knocked on her door, she wanted to know God. Wanted to understand the faith that had kept Victoria strong. The faith that had taught Eden and Zion to love even when it hurt. So they read her the Bible. Told her about Jesus. About grace. About redemption. And one night, as the rain poured outside and the room glowed with soft lamplight, Rochelle prayed the sinner's prayer. She asked Jesus to forgive her. To wash her clean. To take away the guilt she had carried for 16 years. And when she opened her eyes, she was crying. But this time they were not tears of shame. They were tears of relief. Victoria walked in just as Rochelle finished praying. She stood in the doorway watching. And for the first time since Rochelle had shown up at her door, Victoria felt something shift inside her. It was not forgiveness. Not yet. But it was the beginning. She walked over to the bed. sat down beside Rochelle. And she took her hand. "You are going to be okay," Victoria said softly. Rochelle looked at her, confused. "Not here. But where you are going." Victoria squeezed her hand. "You made peace with God. That is all that matters." Rochelle's voice was barely a whisper. "Do you forgive me?" Victoria's throat tightened. She thought about all the years of pain, all the prayers, all the nights she cried herself to sleep because she could not have children. And then she thought about that cold December night, about those two tiny girls in a trash bag, about the way God had used Rochelle's worst moment to answer Victoria's deepest prayer. And she realized something. Forgiveness is not a feeling. It is a choice. A decision to release someone from the debt they owe you because God released you from yours. "Yes," Victoria said. "I forgive you." Rochelle broke down. Victoria held her. And in that moment something supernatural happened. The bitterness that had been living in Victoria's heart for months dissolved. Not because Rochelle deserved it, but because Victoria chose to obey God. And obedience always leads to freedom. The girls stood in the doorway watching, tears streaming down their faces. Because they were witnessing something most people never see. The power of grace. The beauty of redemption. The miracle that happens when broken people allow God to put them back together. Rochelle lived for 6 more weeks. And in those 6 weeks she got to know her daughters. Really know them. She learned that Eden loved to bake. That Zion was afraid of heights. That they both sang in the church choir. That they prayed before bed. That they were everything she had hoped they would be. And on a Sunday morning in late September, with the sun streaming through the window and the sound of gospel music playing softly in the background, Rochelle took her last breath. Eden was holding one hand. Zion was holding the other. And Victoria stood at the foot of the bed, praying. Rochelle's last words were, "Thank you. Thank you for loving them. Thank you for being the mother I could not be." And then she was gone. They buried her at Laurel Hill Cemetery. Victoria paid for everything. The funeral was small but beautiful. The pastor spoke about redemption, about second chances, about the God who specializes in turning messes into messages. Eden sang Amazing Grace. Zion read a letter she had written. A letter she never got to give Rochelle while she was alive. In it, she said, "I do not know if I will ever fully understand why you did what you did. But I know that you tried to make it right. And that counts for something. I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because God forgave me. And if He can love someone like me, then I can love someone like you." After the funeral, as they stood by the grave, Victoria put her arms around both girls. They are family. Not because of blood, but because of choice, because of faith, because of the God who takes broken things and makes them whole. So how do we make sense of pain and grace and forgiveness all tangled up together? We hold on to faith. We trust that God is working even when we cannot see it. We believe that He can take the worst moments of our lives and turn them into testimonies, because that is what He does. That is who He is, a God who does not waste pain. Victoria did not just save those girls the night she pulled them from that dumpster. She saved them every single day after, with her prayers, her patience, her unwavering belief that they were worth everything. What would you have done if you were Victoria? Could you have opened your home to the person who tried to destroy your family? These are hard questions. Questions that do not have easy answers. But that is what faith is. Doing the hard thing because God asks you to. Loving when it does not make sense. Forgiving when it hurts. If this story moved you, if it challenged you, if it made you think about your own life and the people you need to forgive, then hit that like button. Drop a comment and tell us your story. Have you ever had to forgive the unforgivable? Have you ever been the one asking for forgiveness? We want to hear from you. And if you want more stories like this, stories that will make you cry and think and remember why faith matters, then subscribe. Because we are just getting started. Remember this. God does not call us to be perfect. He calls us to be obedient. And sometimes, the greatest act of obedience is choosing to love when everything in you wants to hate. Grace is not fair. But thank God it is free.